How's everybody doing tonight? Yo. Sorry it took me so long, guys. I was sending it out on the socials and everything. So yeah, so we can have some people tune in tonight. Should be a good show. As you guys saw, I'm going to be talking this Turkey, Sweden, and Finland thing going on with NATO. Erdogan just bent over bent over the other NATO countries and showed them 50 states. I think that's how the saying goes. Yeah, Erdogan, Erdogan about to be eaten, bro. What else we talking about? We're gonna be talking about how the Uvalde police show exactly like prove like my point and a lot of other people's points on why we say cops are fucking useless. We're gonna be talking about that. That's a very interesting story. And then we're gonna move into Ukraine again. Because even though, like, I'm not going to be talking about Ukraine too much in this first story with Erdogan and NATO, but we will be talking about Ukraine at the end. We're going to be talking about we got some spooks out there in Ukraine. We're going to be talking about it, and apparently they are pretty spooky now, given a certain video. So we're going to be talking about that. It should be a good show. It's going to be a fairly short show. I'm going to try and keep it to about an hour 15, maybe something like that. Yeah, man. So I'm gonna give it like another minute, because I just sent the socials out. So see if anybody comes in. But man, I'm feeling good. I done had a few drinks in me, as you could probably tell. I done had a few drinks, and I'm feeling groovy right now. It's been a long week. Got one more day for the week is over. I got Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I got a 4-day holiday for Colonizer Day. That's what I like to call the 4th of July. I like to call it Colonizer. Colonizer. I love Black Panther, bro. Like the movie Black Panther. That's my shit. When she kept calling the one white boy colonizer, bro, that shit kept having me weak as fuck. I'm like, yo, if you call this man colonizer one more time, the people sitting next to me are going to be mad for me laughing so much. It's ridiculous. Before we get started, let me go grab a water. I will be right back. I'm about to go grab a water real quick. All right, I am back. I am back. I don't know, man. This week was a long week for work, bro. I ain't gonna front. It was like today, I definitely did not feel like doing a stream today. I'm gonna be completely honest. Maybe the liquid courage got me saying this, but I really did not. I was so tired, bro. I drank a Red Bull before I started. I did a live stream for my other YouTube channel. And once I did that, I kind of got up and I was like, you know what? Nah, I'm not gonna push it back to Friday. I'm gonna do it. Apologies for pushing it because it was supposed to be yesterday. I did the stream, but I was dog shit tired, guys. So sorry, apologies for that. Stream days are usually Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. If you don't see a what is it? If you don't see an upcoming thing, like the preview, the premiere jaunt, you don't see that up on the stream day, that means I'm probably not streaming that day. I'll try to, put it out on Twitter or on YouTube in the community tab, John, whether I'm a stream on the streaming day or not. So with that out the way, let us begin. To quote Darth Vader, Darth Lord Vader. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I quote Star Wars a lot. All righty. Let's go ahead and get this story set up. All right. So I know a lot of you have been peeping the news lately, and we already know the war in Ukraine is still going on. The United States is basically running a outright proxy war. So they started off telling us this wasn't a proxy war. Then it went to like, oh, well, we're just going to help. Then it was like, yeah, we're fully at war with Russia right now. And the United States is expanding NATO, which literally started this whole conflict. And they're expanding it to Finland and Sweden. And historically, like, I know those two countries have been for the most part neutral. So I know there was even talk of Switzerland possibly considering, joining NATO. That would be like a huge shakeup. I don't think it would really mean much because if you look at how the economic war is going, it's going terribly for the West. That's why I really don't understand why Sweden and Finland want to join NATO. Like this is a sinking ship that's going on right now. When it comes to NATO and their economic war on Russia, like they tried it at first, and Russia did take a hit at the beginning. But then once they started saying, yo, cash for rubles, they basically said, yo, you want our shit? You got to pay for it in our currency. That's when the tide started to change. And that's just, ever since then, the United States has been looking bad. They've been going begging around the world for people to produce oil. There was even I saw a leaked clip. It was a leaked talk between Biden and Macron at I think it was the G7 summit, where they basically said like Biden is supposed to be going to Saudi Arabia to go beg the crown prince and all them for oil, and apparently they literally can't. They like physically literally cannot do it in the time frame, even if they wanted to. But it benefits them, with what they're doing right now. It benefits them, so that's why they kind of been giving the United States the cold shoulder and everything. But yeah. So with all that going on, you got Sweden and Finland, wanting to get in on the shit show. Which again, I don't know why. But there was a wrench in that, and that was the president of Turkey, Erdogan. So basically, whenever a new country is inducted into NATO, every present member has to be a unanimous decision. Turkey was like, nah, I don't think so. I'm not really feeling it. Nah, we're not with that. And immediately, as soon as I heard that, knowing how Turkey historically is, they're kind of like frenemies of both the United States and Russia. They operate out of their own interest, which a country should, in my opinion. But regardless, he was like, nah, I'm not feeling that. Maybe we could talk. Y'all give me a little something. We can make that happen. So that leads us into this. Let me pull the articles up. Pull the article up. Give me 1 second, guys. I put together a whole presentation for you guys. But there was also some breaking news as well in this. So there's going to be a couple articles at the end that I'm going to be pulling up. So, but give me 1 second to pull this stuff up. Boom. So originally, Turkey was like, nah, we're not really feeling that. And they basically were going to veto it when the vote came down to it. Now, as of this is from Reuters. This is an article from June 28th, 2022. Turkey lifts veto on Finland, Sweden joining NATO, clearing path for expansion. And this is by Humaira Pamuk and Ann Kurinen. Hope I'm saying that right. Probably didn't. Leaders of Turkey, Finland, Sweden held talks in Madrid. Sweden, Finland, and Turkey signed goodwill memorandum. Now, there was talk saying Biden wasn't involved in these talks. This was specifically between these. Biden was involved in it. The United States was involved in these talks. Okay, NATO is basically the United States is like this is how they run the bitches. So the United States is the pimp, and the rest of NATO um are for all intents and purposes the prostitutes. The United States is the pimp. That's what it is. Like remember when Donald Trump was running around talking about possibly abolishing NATO? He wasn't actually going to abolish NATO. So that's what a lot of his supporters don't understand. He wasn't actually, and this is look, fuck NATO. I think NATO should be disbanded. I think it should be demolished and scattered to the wind, along with the CIA, along with all of the alphabet boys. But Trump doing what he did, he was like showing his mild skills of negotiation, because when he started talking all that, if the European countries don't want to put their fair share in, maybe the United States should just, I don't know, pull out of NATO. Who knows? Because the United States puts up most of the money. Let's be real. So, and that's when a lot of the European countries started literally taking from, the money they use to, take care of the people in their country, and started putting it to more weapons and things like that. So Donald Trump wasn't actually trying to abolish NATO or like wanted to. He was using it as a negotiation tactic to get the NATO countries to raise their budget. So that's on its face right there. But whenever it comes to the United States, or whenever it comes to NATO, best know the United States has its hands in it and is coordinating it to some degree. So Biden was involved with these talks. That's bullshit. And the more recent news we're going to be talking about at the end of this will address that as well. But continuing, invitation to be made to join to be made during the NATO summit. Western strategic shift after Russian invasion of Ukraine. This is from Madrid/Helsinki. NATO ally Turkey lifted its veto over Finland and Sweden's bid to join the Western Alliance on Tuesday, after the three nations agreed to protect each other's security, ending a weeks-long drama that tested allied unity against Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So like I said, Turkey was basically like, I don't know if we really feeling y'all coming in here. I don't know. I don't like y'all energy. I don't know. You guys are some funny, you're some wise guys. You come in here, you talk about me, you put sanctions on me, you stop me from buying your weapons. Like, the fuck is up with that? It's like a fucking mob movie. A fucking mob movie. I can see fucking Erdogan being like the mob. Have you guys ever seen The Irishman? There's an amazing scene in The Irishman between Al Pacino, and I'm drawing a blank on the other actor's name, but if you've seen The Irishman, you know exactly what fucking scene I'm talking about. Not the scene when they were in prison when he showed up late to the meeting. If you've seen The Irishman, you know exactly what fucking scene I'm talking about. Like, I feel like Erdogan is literally like that guy right now. He shows up late to the meeting in the shorts, like balls hanging out of his shorts and shit, cigar in his mouth. Like, this is like I'm just for a meeting. You guys want something from me? You come to me. You ask me for a favor. I'm going to try to help you to the best of my abilities, but you got to help me. You scratch my back, I scratch yours, eh? So that's what Erdogan is doing right now, basically. The breakthrough came after 4 hours of talks just before a NATO summit began in Madrid, averting an embarrassing impasse at the gathering of 30 leaders that aims to show resolve against Russia. I just imagine, like, if this deal didn't go through, and basically Turkey vetoes it, I could just imagine everybody in the room just like, why? And he's like, well, I didn't veto them. They vetoed themselves. I told them what I wanted. They said no, so them niggas got vetoed. I wish that would have happened, bro. I wish, because the United States, like, they already have these sanctions on Turkey. Turkey wants these F-16 fighter jets, which we're going to get to at the end of the article, that the United States has been refusing to sell them. And it's like, why should we, like, what do we get out of NATO? What do we get from you guys? That's basically been Turkey's whole stance on NATO, as far as I know, historically, especially in modern times, and definitely, especially in the Erdogan era. Like, it's more of a take relationship. Like, what can you give me? Give me. So this isn't surprising to me, but it just would have been hilarious if Turkey was just like, yeah, nah. Fuck that. Y'all not gonna give us what we want. Fuck y'all. But continuing, now seen by the U.S.-led alliance as a direct security threat rather than a possible adversary. So again, back to the whole thing. My whole Ukraine coverage. Go watch it if you guys haven't seen it. It completely astounds me that they're still running with this narrative in the media that Russia, now seen by the US, quote unquote NATO as well, as a direct security threat. Russia's the direct security threat rather than a possible adversary. So a country that previously asked to join your bullshit alliance, and you guys said no. I'm sure for economic benefits as well, because that's one of the things I've heard surrounding this whole Sweden, Finland wanting to join. There's economic benefits, but it's really not when it comes to Finland and Sweden. And then on top of that, they're also saying like, it provides security guarantees, for us against Russia. Where it's like, look, you joining NATO is doing that. You joining NATO is provoking Russia. If you would have just stayed neutral like y'all always have been, where where y'all at now. And look, these countries are still de facto NATO states. Let's not get it twisted. But it's like when you put the official tag on it, especially countries that are right there on Russia's border, and something happens, it triggers Article 5. And there's a slew of other reasons why Russia doesn't want, countries directly on its border in NATO. But that's a whole nother stream to talk about, which I've talked about on plenty of other streams, but especially a country like Ukraine. So literally you're poking the bear by doing this. This doesn't help you at all. Like, you already had the security guarantees you wanted by remaining neutral, and also not even necessarily remaining neutral, still a de facto NATO state in the Western sphere of influence. So it's just insane. This whole narrative they're trying to push about it is ridiculous. But when you go to this map, they're saying Russia is the security threat. Look at this fucking map. Again, look at this fucking map. This is Russia. You see it right here. This is Russia. These are all the countries they want in NATO. Now, I know I've heard about Russia getting involved in the Belarusian election and things like that. I will have to do more research on it. I will admit I'm not too knowledgeable about that. I do know that Belarus is basically, an ally of Russia. But when it comes to, you have the Baltic states, Ukraine, they were even talking about Georgia at one point, Turkey, they're literally surrounding Russia. And it's crazy. So there is this guy that was on the Fault Line show. So I listen to Fault Lines in the morning at work and everything with Jamal Thomas and Manila Chan. Shout out to Manila. She followed me on Twitter. I've been watching Manila like for a while now, honestly. Like before they took RT down, I was like her show In Question. I was watching that was like my new show when I got home from work. That was my new show. I would watch it on YouTube, obviously, like, because I wasn't watching like RT on my television or anything like that. I would watch a lot of shit on my phone. But I was watching her show when I got home from work, just catching up with the daily news and things like that. I loved her show. I was mad when they took it down. It fucking sucks. But I'm glad that she's on Fault Line. She tweeted something else out too about another opportunity she has. So I hope she stays on Fault Lines because I like her and Jamal together. I like Jamal and Farron too, but I kind of like him and Manila more. You feel me? I like him and Manila more. When Manila first came, because I was like, I love Manila, but at the same time, I fucked with Farron on here. But Manila, cool. I like her on this show. So I hope she doesn't leave. But there was this guy that went on Fault Line. His name is David Swanson. And we kind of had like a little Twitter back and forth because he claims to be an anti-war guy and everything like that. And it's like, cool. A lot of the anti-war people I feel are getting Russia wrong. And I feel like it calls into question, like, define anti-war. And I know it's like that R. Kelly thing. I know R. Kelly, he got 30 years. Send that piece of shit to jail. He needs to be locked up. But it's kind of like that. Define underage. I know it sounds bad when you say it like that, but that's the only way you really can't say it. Because when you look at this map and you sit down with an anti-war person and you ask them, what would you do in this situation? If you were like in the street somewhere and like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 20 niggas start surrounding you, what the fuck are you going to do? And they want to add 2 other niggas into the mix. What are you going to do? It's kind of absurd because like what he was saying on the show was, which I find absurd, was that, well, Russia, they should have found other means. They should have well, he didn't say this, but I've heard Aaron Matei say this. Aaron Matei said that Russia could have used its leverage in terms of the fossil fuels that it sends to Europe, which Europe has cut. But two things wrong with that. One, they're the propaganda machine of the West is just going to say, "Oh, look, Russia's being a bully with their with their economics. They're waging an economic war against us. We have to go to economic war with them," which they already did when Russia didn't do that. So imagine if they did. So that's one right there. Two, Russia, and it kind of goes with one as well. Russia does not want to treat its commodities as the United States treats its currency, meaning that the United States has wielded the dollar basically as a weapon, as an economic uh, tool of war. Countries are looking at what they were already looking at what they did to Venezuela, what they did to Syria, what they did to Iran, and now they're seeing what they did to Russia, where they confiscated like $300 billion from the Russian central bank. They're looking at this and they're saying, "Oh, the United States is going to continue to do this. They're going to use their currency and all them and see what they trying to do in terms of a global trade currency." Because once you use your currency as a weapon, all countries are going to see is just that, a fucking weapon, and they're going to dump your fucking currency, which is what they're doing with the dollar right now, which is why the dollar is going to shit. It's tanking right now. Whereas Russia is not trying to use its oil, its leverage with the oil as a weapon, because they don't want that, what I just described with the United States and the dollar, to happen to them, because in the long run, it fucks them over. So again, and it leaves you at this conclusion: what is Russia to do? Are they to allow Ukraine to become part of NATO and to avoid nuclear war? They just allow a civil war to go on, led by Nazis in the country. It's insanity. So it's like this aspect of there's so much, there's not much they can do. And when you've been trying the diplomatic path for the last 10 years, at some point you're going to be like, all right, fuck this, and throw the gloves off, fuck this. And I feel like that's what they did with the special operation in Russia or in Ukraine. So look, me personally, I'm gonna keep it a bean. I think Russia is 100% in the right now. I applaud what they're doing right now in combating the West, because it's about time somebody does. It's really about time somebody does. And I know I'm saying this as an American, but I'm saying this because I'm actually an anti-imperialist. Okay, I'm actually an anti-imperialist, and this imperialism hurts everybody. It hurts the people overseas. It hurts the people here at home. So I'm glad they're standing up to the United States right now and saying, fuck this, fuck that, and fuck you. It's about time somebody has. So moving on. It means Helsinki and Stockholm can proceed with their application to join the nuclear armed alliance, cementing what is set to be the biggest shift in European security in decades as the two long neutral Nordic countries seek NATO protection. Something, my dog's chewing on her bone. I was like, what is that? My dog's over there chewing on her bone. The steps for Finland and Sweden's access to NATO will be agreed on in the next 2 days. And then Stowe said, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg and Turkey's president confirmed the accord in separate statements. After talks between the NATO chief, Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan, Swedish Prime Minister Magdalena Andersson, and Nisto, the resolution of the deadlock solidifies the alliance's response to Russia, particularly in the Baltic Sea, where Finnish and Swedish membership would give NATO military superiority. In the wider Nordic region, Norway, Denmark, and the three Baltic states are already NATO members. Russia's war in Ukraine, which Moscow calls a special military operation, helped overturn decades of Swedish opposition to joining NATO. So going back to this map, you see that map, right? These are the Baltic states they're talking about up there. Going back, Baltic states are already NATO members. So going back, like I said, those are the Baltic states up there. I remember the West negotiating with Russia in order to reunify Germany, and part of that deal was that NATO doesn't move past its where it was at that present time, which is about halfway, like where the what is it called, the wall was. I forget. I'm trying to blank on what the wall was now. What is that wall called? The Cold War wall. I'm about to Google that. Cold War wall. The Berlin Wall. Yeah, the Berlin Wall. Right here, through here. The Berlin Wall. Pretty much, split up between West and East Germany. Now that's where the current battle is. It's very crazy how history, history could have taken a completely different path, but the United States is a depraved, psychopathic country. So we're pushing ahead with this crazy apocalyptic, close to apocalyptic thing they're doing right now with this proxy war in Ukraine. But that was the whole thing with the Cold War. This was basically the front line here, pretty much, essentially. Now it's essentially here, split up between the Donbass region of Ukraine and Western Ukraine. That's what they're battling over now. So they went all the way from here to here. And again, I ask, who was the security threat? And I will also say, in those negotiations, they have the minutes from those negotiations. The minutes are basically like, imagine like a telegraph, I think that's what it's called, or imagine a stenographer in court, how they type that shit. Basically that. We have documentation of these meetings, and we have the West making these, like, it's on record of them making these guarantees to the, then Soviet Union and now the Russian Federation. They lied. And now the war is here at Ukraine. So it's utter insanity when they talk about Russia being the security threat and things like that. When you actually look at the fucking map, it begs you to ask yourself, who is really the security threat to who? So I just wanted to point that out. But the Baltic states are already NATO members. Russia's war in Ukraine, which Moscow calls a special military operation, which it is. I mean, look, you can call it a war if you want to, whatever. But the way they're trying to paint it as Russia's war, again, when you try 10 years to diplomatically resolve a situation and diplomatically the opposing side tells you repeatedly to go fuck yourself, what are you left to do? And then once they accomplish their goals in Ukraine, they're dipping out. So I don't know what the West, is expecting from this. They're trying to drag this. They're basically trying to pull Afghanistan, which led to the Soviet Union collapsing. It's not going to work though. Special military operation helped overturn decades of Swedish opposition to joining NATO. Now, from what I've heard, on fault lines, there was a guy on the ground in these areas. And I've also seen people on Twitter talking about this as well, is that no, that opposition is still there. It's just that it's shrunk because in Sweden and Finland, it's been nonstop NATO propaganda, stirring up fears about Russia invading. So when you're propagandizing, a population, saying, oh, this country's going to invade, that, of course, a lot of people are going to change their minds. But from what I'm hearing, there's still a good number of people who are opposed to this in their country. They're just censoring them and ignoring them, much like they do here in the United States, which I'm not surprised by. However, even with a formal invitation granted, NATO's 30 allied parliaments must ratify the decision by leaders, a process that could take up to a year. So this isn't going to happen by, they actually said they were supposed to be in there by now. This isn't going to be happening for another year unless they magically decide to change the rules to make it happen. Turkey's main demands, here's his list, what he wants. Turkey's main demands, which came as a surprise to NATO allies in late May, were for the Nordic countries to stop supporting Kurdish militant groups present on their territory and to lift their bans on some sales of arms to Turkey. The territory they're talking about is the territory they just fucking stole from Syria. The territory they're illegally occupying in Syria. Oh, that's the crazy part. You guys are literally, so they're telling them to stop supporting. So they deem the Kurdish militant groups present on their territory as illegal. You're literally there in Syria illegally under international law. It's insanity. It's utter insanity. And they also want them to lift their bans on some sales of arms to Turkey. Stoltenberg said the terms of the deal involve Sweden intensifying work on Turkish extradition requests of suspected militants and amending Swedish and Finnish law to toughen their approach to them. So I want you to understand that. Let that sink in. Actually, I'll read it again. Stoltenberg said the terms of the deal involved Sweden intensifying work on Turkish extradition requests of suspected militants and amending Swedish and Finnish law to toughen their approach to them. That's basically saying, hey, these people, I don't know exactly their politics and what they are. These people could be what he deems as terrorists or militants or whatever. I don't know. I don't know 100%. I've heard two different things about these Kurdish people and things like that. But basically, these people came to Sweden and Finland seeking refuge there and protection from Turkey. And now, so they can get into NATO and stoke World War III with Russia. Turkey's like, all right, fine. That's what you want to do. Fine. I want this. They're talking about literally taking refugees, people who are escaping political violence from Turkey, and basically sending them back. Could you fucking imagine that? So imagine you're like a protester or some shit, and you got wind that your government was trying to kill you, and you fled to another country. Only to years later, that country turn you over because they made a deal with the country you came from for some shit. That's insane. I could not fucking imagine, bro. I could not fucking imagine. They fled to these countries for protection and safety, and now they're getting dimed out. And all in favor to stoke a World War III scenario with Russia. Of all things, that's insanity. Stoltenberg said Sweden and Finland would lift their restrictions on selling weapons to Turkey. Turkey has raised serious concerns that Sweden has been harboring what it says are militants from the banned Kurdistan Workers' Party, the PKK, which took up arms against the Turkish state in 1984. Stockholm denies the accusation, which I've heard there are people like in in the Swedish parliament, things like that works within the government. They're MPs, they're members of parliament, and like, are you like they're going to extradite members of parliament? You see how insane that is, because that's what that says. And he also wants to reach in and basically Erdogan wants to change their laws to suit his country. So again, this is the United States basically saying, look, yo, Sweden, I'm sorry to tell you this, bro, but you got to suck a dick. So we Sweden's like, we got, all right, fine. No, this is insanity, bro. This is insanity. The Turkish presidency statement said the agreement reached on Tuesday meant full cooperation with Turkey in the fight against the PKK and its affiliates. It also said Sweden and Finland were demonstrating solidarity with Turkey in the fight against terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. So this is a win for him at home. That's why he's really doing this. I heard they're seeing him as like a hero back in Turkey. But again, this is Sweden and Finland like essentially having to turn over their citizens. Oh, bro, this is crazy. So what if you were like born there? So what if your dad was like part of the party and are they like extraditing whole families and shit? Like, oh, I could not fucking imagine. And this is from another article. Turkey to soon start military operations along the Syrian border. This is from 2 days ago. So when I clicked the article, it's probably from like 5 days ago, something like that. But I just find it crazy because he's been talking about doing this, like taking even more land from Syria. So let me pull up a map. Let me pull up a map to show y'all the occupation in Syria right now. Because again, it's fucking insanity that like literally like this motherfucker Erdogan is like he's already occupying a large part of Syria. Give me see if I can find it. Give me 1 second, guys. right, I think I found one. Let me stop sharing here. I'm gonna go back to that, guys. I just want to show you so you can kind of have like a visual of it. But boom, here you go. So this is the part that Turkey's controlling. This is the part that the Kurdish forces are controlling. The rebel forces are here. The rebel forces, meaning ISIS. um, and so the Kurds are basically occupying parts here, and that's where Turkey's trying to move into. Where you see that little yellow where my mouse is right there. So it's like that's the operation that they're trying to do and shit like that. And literally, like I said, like I've said this previously on my channel, but you literally have in a lot of these areas up here where and the United States is in here too. Don't get that wrong. And here you have Israel occupying the Golan Heights down there, which is fucking insanity. Like literally, like this blue right here, that's the Golan Heights. That's literally illegal under international law. Like Israel is there illegally, but because they're backed by the United States and the UN has no teeth, like who's going to enforce that? The United States sure isn't, and no Western country sure isn't. So that's insanity. And Donald Trump illegally basically declared that the Golan Heights are part of Israel. Like he did that illegally. So it's like, again, but Donald Trump's peace in the East. Okay. But what is it? But there's a lot of ISIS, Al Qaeda, people up here in this northern Syria, basically. Like especially I heard in Aleppo and parts of Idlib as well, or not Aleppo, Idlib. I'm sorry about that. In Idlib, like you have a lot of ISIS up in here, and there's some crazy shit going on up there. So yeah. But that's what Turkey's trying to do. And it's fucking insane. Again, this is they're literally like, where's Syria in this? You're just going to go in and take Syria? Yeah, because that's what they've been doing since the civil war started in 2011 under Barack Obama. So that's literally Turkey. That's one of the things Turkey wanted. They want to do this incursion into Syria. So let's go back to our article. So that's why I brought, I wanted to bring that map up just to give you guys like kind of a visual of everything going on. What are you doing? Here we go. So Turkey to soon start military operations along Syrian border. This is from Erdogan. Ankara aims to clear northern Syria's Tel Rifat Manbij in operation to establish 30-kilometer security zone south of the Turkish border. That's bullshit talk for, hey, we're about to steal some more land from Syria. And you guys are going to be okay with it because you want Finland and Sweden to be in NATO. So you see how this works. You see how the West, like how this is neo-colonialism basically, like what's going on with Syria. You see how this fucking works. Okay, the rules-based order that they talk about all the time when it comes to Russia and China. The rules-based order basically means, hey, we can do whatever the fuck we want. We can take what we want. We can give away what we want, and you guys are just going to be okay with it. Right? That's how it works. And they double down on the hypocrisy when they then turn around and wag the finger at Russia. Bad Russia. Ukraine has its sovereignty, but apparently Syria fucking doesn't. Okay. Fuck the West, bro. That's just where I'm at right now, honestly. Fuck the West. And I live here, and I'm saying fuck the West. But continuing. Turkey, I think that's how you actually spell it in their region. But Turkey would start new military operations as soon as preparations on the Syrian border were completed. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has said. He made the comments after a cabinet meeting in Ankara on Monday. Earlier this month, Erdogan had said Turkey was set to clear 2 areas of northern Syria near the Turkish border of PKK YPG terrorist elements in a bid to eliminate the terror threat from the region. We are entering a new phase of our decision to establish Safe Zone 30 kilometers deep south of the Turkish-Syrian border. We are clearing Tel Rifat and Manbij of terrorists, Erdogan had said. Erdogan also said that Turkey's anti-terror operations in Iraq continue successfully. Now, this is what I found interesting too. Erdogan discusses Turkey's Syria incursion plans with Putin. So Russia's in Syria as well. They have a base in Syria. You know, famously when Donald Trump bombed Syria, like everybody knew that, you know, you kind of had to coordinate with the Russians about this because they literally have a base there. And where the United States wanted to bomb was going to be near that base. So they kind of had to talk to Russia and coordinate with it. That's why it was kind of crazy that people like Cenk Uygur, who were high off of Russiagate, were talking about, oh, Trump talked to Putin before the bombing, so that means he's Putin's puppet. Da, da, da. And then he dropped Nerf bomb. I hope you guys remember that. Like famously, Cenk Uygur said Russia dropped or the United States dropped Nerf bombs on Syria. Okay, bro, go fuck yourself, Cenk Uygur. Oh, Istanbul. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has discussed Ankara's planned military operation in northern Syria in the war in Ukraine with Russia's Vladimir Putin, Erdogan's office said Monday. In recent days, Erdogan has said Turkey will launch a cross-border incursion against Kurdish militants in Syria to create a 30-kilometer deep buffer zone. He told Putin in a phone call that the frontier zone was agreed in 2019 but had not been implemented, the Turkish presidency said. Ankara carried out an operation against the People's Protectorate Units, or YPG, in October 2019. Russia, the Syrian regime. You see how they called him the regime? they called the guy stealing land from Syria the presidency, almost as His Excellency Erdogan, but then they say the Syrian regime. Bro, get the fuck out of here. That regime, they use that word with countries that refuse to bend the knee to them. That's what that means. And the United States also have troops in the border region, and they're in the oil fields, in the wheat fields, and they've been stealing Syria's oil and wheat. So yes, we have had boots on the ground in Syria. Turkey considered the YPG to be a terrorist group linked to the outlawed Kurdistan Workers' Party, or PKK, that has waged an insurgency against Turkey since 1984, leading to the deaths of tens of thousands of people. However, the YPG forms the backbone of U.S.-led forces in the fight against the against the Islamic State group in Syria. The U.S. has not been happy with Turkey's previous incursions into Syria. Because basically it puts them into direct, and the U.S. troops there in danger. But the crazy part is, and the funny part is that, well, not funny part, it's not funny at all, is that you have all of these countries in there illegally. Every single one illegal. It's illegal under international law. Every single one is in there illegally. And again, they're basically saying, all right, look, Turkey, oh my God, we'll let you illegally take land from Syria at some point. Just wait till we finish stealing the fucking oil, okay? God, you're such a dick, Turkey. That's basically what the United States is saying right there. And it's insane. It's insanity. And you wonder why these countries are going and starting their own fucking shit, because they're sick of this. So yeah, that is the end of that one. But we're going to go ahead and move into this next article because there's more to this story that's fascinating. And I'm going to try and wrap it up so we can move to the next article. We're probably going to be like an hour and a half. I'm not even going to front. Let's see. Share. Let me see. So now, when it comes to this, when it came to the dealings between let me log out of this. I don't even know why this is up right now. This is fucking stupid. I don't even know how to close this. It's my tube, buddy. That's open. Fuck it though. Let's get it. This is Biden meeting with the president. Let's see what they had to say to each other, or with the president of Turkey. Now, the whole thing was that the United States and Biden wasn't involved in this coordination of the blah 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 blah. Yes, they were, as I told you at the top of the video. So let's get into it.
What you did putting together a situation with regard to Finland and Sweden, and all the incredible work you're doing to try to get the grain out of Ukraine and Russia. I mean, you're doing a great job. I just want to thank you. I'd like to talk to you about those things when we have a chance. So, the floor is yours.
Mr. President, hello. I would like to especially mention that it gives me great, Mr. President, it gives me great pleasure to be able to get together with you after a long interval. And this NATO summit that we're attending, in terms of its agenda, is going to be quite busy and it's going to be quite important. And tomorrow, the activities will be sustained, and thanks to our efforts, we believe that we will be able to go back to our countries with our hands full.
Yo, you hear this nigga, bro? Oh, bro. He said, look, give me my shit so we can go home, bro. I ain't trying to be here for all this shit. Look, give me what I want so I can go the fuck home.
And with full satisfaction. And as the United States, we think your pioneering in this regard is going to be crucial in terms of strengthening NATO for the future. And it's going to have a very positive contribution to the process between Ukraine and Russia. The Russia and Ukraine conflict and the negative developments with regards to taking out of the grain from the Ukrainian ports, as well as the developments involving oil and natural gas, require all of us to work together in order to settle the disputes once and for all. I hope and pray that we will be able to establish a balanced diplomacy in order to cultivate positive results, especially.
So that's him saying, yo, this war is fucking up the economies around the world. Wrap this shit up, bro. Now, I predict that NATO is not going to be around for too long, which is why Turkey's trying to get as much as they can from these countries before NATO eventually falls the fuck apart. The bottom falls out of NATO. Turkey's like, yo, let me get my shit. Can I get my shit, please? And I'm gonna go ahead and go home. I'm gonna go ahead and call it Uber. All right, guys. Like NATO's out driving drunk right now, and they're about to run. They're about to run right off a cliff. And Turkey's like, I'm gonna get out and call it Uber. But before I do, can I get my shit?
There are countries deprived of the grains, and we will open corridors and we will allow them to have access to the grains that they so need. Thank you.
So that was a lot of bullshit talk. Let's see what Biden had to say about that.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Now, that was the bullshit talk that they had going. Let's go ahead and move into the next video, though, because this is what that meeting was really about. Oh.
On record.
So this is why Turkey is going to allow Finland and Sweden to come in. They're going to lift their veto.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and his US counterpart Joe Biden met for just over an hour in Madrid. But during that time, they appear to have moved closer to making a deal over fighter jets. Turkey wants to buy 40 F-16s plus upgrade kits. And the US president went on record for the first time to support an agreement.
We should sell them the F-16 jets and modernize those jets as well. It's not in our interest not to do that. And I indicated to them that I've not changed my position at all since December. And there was no quid pro quo with that.
Yeah, all right, I bet. So why didn't y'all make this deal with them before all this happened? Yeah, okay.
It was just that we should sell, but I need congressional approval to be able to do that. And I think we can get.
And they're going to all come together and join in hands and fucking give it to them. That is exactly what the fuck they're going to do, because everybody who takes money from the defense contract in Congress, which is most of them, are going to line the pockets of the weapons manufacturers, and then the weapons manufacturers are going to turn around and line their pockets as well.
If the deal can be made, it could help put a major disagreement behind both countries. In 2007.
So they're going to go into the history, which I should have explained at the top. But basically, Turkey bought S-400s from Russia in 2017. NATO was like, hey, give us that technology so we can reverse engineer it and we'll have an advantage over Russia. Turkey was like, nah, I'm not trying to fuck up my relationship with Russia, so fuck off. And that's when they put the sanctions and things like that. And the weapons, the weapon sales ban on Turkey, which they now lifted. So Finland and Sweden can come in, and we can move closer to World War III, which is nuclear annihilation.
The Turkish government brought the S-400 missile defense system from Russia after it couldn't reach a deal with the US. As a result, Donald Trump removed them from an F-35 fighter jet program.
So again, all this talk about Donald Trump being Donald Trump helped us get to the position we're at now. Okay? The sooner you realize their agendas are the same, no matter who the fuck is sitting in the White House, okay? The deep state is at work here. This is what the deep state wants, and the deep state gets what it wants. Doesn't fucking matter who's in there.
Now the Turkish president is hopeful a different deal can be done.
There's a divide right now between the Democrats and the Republicans. It is necessary to receive a certain amount of support from both sides. But despite all this, I believe that Biden is confident. I hope that we will achieve a result that shows our friendship and solidarity.
Another breakthrough is the deal Turkey signed with Finland and Sweden. In return for the Nordic countries taking more action against terrorist groups like the PKK, Turkey will support their applications for NATO membership. But the Turkish president says they still have to keep their promises for his support to continue.
First, Sweden and Finland have to do their part. This is already in the memorandum. If they do their part, we will send this to our parliament for ratification. But if Sweden and Finland do not follow through, we will not ratify it. As you know, North Macedonia had to wait 20 years to be a NATO member.
And in Ukraine, NATO members are also concerned about getting much needed grain out to help feed the wider world and bring down food prices.
Yeah, you could probably just end your failed economic war. You could do that, but nah, we're not going to. We're just going to keep stoking World War III. So they have the option to just end the economic warfare, de-escalate with Russia, stop pushing us closer to the brink of nuclear annihilation. But nah. I'll take nuclear annihilation for 300, Alex. That's what NATO's saying right now by doing this.
Turkish officials are trying to broker a deal between you.
And again, look, look, I'm not trying to shit on Turkey or anything like that. You feel me? I would like to learn more about Turkey as a country itself, whatever. They've done bad shit, whatever. And they've done some good shit, like accept a lot of the Syrian refugees. But when you kind of create them, it's like, okay. But regardless, this is Turkey acting on its own behalf. NATO, other NATO countries, the United States, the UK, France, all these NATO countries, and now Finland and Sweden, they are not acting on behalf of their people. They're acting in detriment to their people.
Ukraine and Russia to make this happen. And if they reach an agreement, it will be supervised by the United Nations. Turkish officials are expected to hit the phones again in the next few days. Andrew Hopkins, TRT World, Madrid.
So boom, there goes that. And then I had another article, but that video pretty much summed up what I was saying. But I'll just go ahead and show you the article headline, Anyway, we'll just read a couple sentences. Erdogan warns Turkey could still block Finland and Sweden's access to NATO. Turkish president stressed the countries must meet Ankara's demand to extradite terrorist suspects. Just 2 days after agreeing to lift deal-breaking objections to Sweden and Finland's NATO accession, Turkish president has warned that Ankara could still block the process if the two countries fail to fully meet his expectations. And the video explained what those expectations were. So there you have it, folks. NATO is acting on as a detriment to its people and to the world by pushing us closer to World War III. And there you have the story. Hope you guys liked that segment. That was a pretty long segment. I didn't think it was going to be that long. I tried to, but I did a lot of ranting and riffing as well. So sorry about that, guys. But let me take a quick break real quick. Get re-energized, and we're going to go ahead and hop into the next story, which is the Uvalde police. So I will be back. Alrighty, guys, and I am back. Yeah, I might add in another, or I don't know yet. Because I saw an interesting clip. I may save it for later. I may save it for tomorrow. I'm gonna do a stream tomorrow. I may save it for tomorrow. I don't know yet, but I just found it interesting. But you'll see whether I do it tonight or not. But for now, we're going to go ahead and move into our next story. And so let me, because got to make it look good in post. So at this point, I feel like we all know that the Uvalde police are trash, and I feel like they're exposing the fact that police are just trash in general. So there was this interesting story, in conjunction with the horrible tragedy that happened at Robb Elementary. The story surrounding that is the scandal of the sheer incompetence of the Uvalde police. So a lot of you probably saw this video floating around on Twitter. So I'll just for a reminder, I'll go ahead and play it now.
A mother who ran inside Robb Elementary School during last week's massacre is telling her story to CBS News. Farm worker Angelique Gomez had been at the school that morning for her children's graduation ceremonies before going to work.
But when she heard about the shooting, she tells Lily Luciana that she jumped in her car and rushed right back to the school.
Right away, as I parked, U.S. Marshals started coming toward my car saying that I wasn't allowed to be parked there. And he said, well, we're going to have to arrest you because you're being very uncooperative. I said, well, you're going to have to arrest me because I'm going in there. And I'm telling you right now, I don't see none of y'all in there. Y'all are standing with snipers and y'all are far away. If y'all don't go in there, I'm going in there. He immediately put me in cuffs.
She says after Uvalde police officers told marshals to uncuff Gomez, she ran towards the school.
As soon as they uncuffed me, I jumped that first gate fence. And once I jumped it, I went to my son's class and I knocked on the door. And I remember the teacher saying, I'm like, hey, they're already bolt cutting the fence to get me. She's like, you think we have time to get out? I said, y'all have time. I'm going to run for my other son.
Once she was assured her son was okay, Gomez ran to get her other child.
I see that they're opening my son's door. I go run for my son and I get him.
With both of her kids out safe, Gomez still can't shake the thought of those who didn't make it.
The gunshots were still active. They were not in there. There was no one in there. If anything, when I pulled up, my car was closer to the school than where the snipers and everybody that was laying on the ground were. They could have saved many more lives. They could have gone into that classroom and maybe 2 or 3 would have been gone, but they could have saved the whole class. They could have done something. Gone through the window, sniped them through the window. I mean, something, but nothing was being done. If anything, they were being more aggressive on us parents that were willing to go in there. And like I told one of the officers, I don't need you to protect me. Get away from me. I don't need your protection. If anything, I need you to go in there with me to go protect my kids. And if anything, they were being more aggressive on us. They were more pertain on keeping us back than getting into that school.
In terms of where she was, well, she wasn't outside of that hallway where the 19 officers were, outside of the classroom door that held the children and the shooter inside. But still, her frustration is something that is reverberating across this community, everyone wondering, why did it take so long to stop the shooter?
I could tell you, because cops are pussies. They're only going to look out for themselves. Now, horrible, horrific story. Thank God she was able to save her kids, because the police damn sure weren't going to do it. But there's this interesting article that came out in conjunction with that, and we're going to circle around to more of her story. We're going to get to that, but I just wanted to fill you in on this news as well, because I didn't cover this on the channel yet. But let me go ahead and share this, share my screen again. So as she said, there were officers in there, but source, you ready for this? Police never tried to open door to classrooms where Uvalde gunmen had kids trapped. Surveillance footage shows that police, and I think they have pictures on here too. Oh, I can't open it because the link I'm using is kind of a weird link, because they have the article behind the paywall, so I had to use this. But regardless, we'll just read the article. Surveillance footage shows that police never tried to open a door to 2 classrooms at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, and the 77 minutes between the time a gunman entered the rooms and massacred 21 people. and officers finally stormed in and killed him. It was Border Patrol, from what I heard as well, too. According to a law enforcement source close to the investigation. Investigators believe the 18-year-old gunman who killed 19 children and 2 teachers at the school, also that one of the teacher, their husband actually showed up with a gun, because I think he is in law enforcement. He was in law enforcement as well. He showed up with his gun, and I believe, from what I've heard, now this is from what I've heard, this isn't verified, I'm just saying this is from what I've picked up, from Twitter and different news and things like that, was that he was the guy that the police allegedly tased. And it was going around online that he died later of heartache. He died of a heart attack. But I'm thinking, what if he died from the police fucking tasing him? That's my assumption. I'm gonna leave it there. But 2 teachers at the school on May 24th could not have locked the door to the connected classrooms from the inside, according to the source. So the gunman he didn't lock himself in because he couldn't from the inside. All classroom doors at Robb Elementary are designed to lock automatically when they are closed, so that the only way to enter from the outside is with a key, the source said. Police might have assumed the door was locked, but the latest evidence suggests it may have been open the whole time, possibly due to a malfunction, the source said. So they never even tried to open the fucking door. Never tried to open the door. The surveillance footage indicates gunman Salvador, I'm not going to say his name, was able to open the door to classroom 111 and entered with an assault style rifle, the source said. Another door led to classroom 112. He entered Robb Elementary at 11:33 a.m. that day through an exterior door that a teacher had pulled shut, but that didn't lock automatically as it was supposed to, indicating another malfunction in the door locks at the school. Police finally opened the door to classroom 111 and killed the shooter at 12:50 p.m. Whether the door was unlocked all along remains under investigation. I'm willing to bet it was. Regardless, officers had access the entire time to a Halligan, a crowbar-like tool that could have opened the door to the classrooms, even if it was locked, the source said. 2 minutes after Ramos entered the building, 3 Uvalde police officers chased him inside. Footage shows that the shooter fired rounds inside classrooms 111 and 112, briefly exited into the hallway, and then re-entered through the door, the source said. The shooter then shot at the officers through the closed door, grazing 2 of them with shrapnel. The officers retreated to wait for backup and heavy tactical equipment rather than force their way into the classrooms and save 19 kids. I added that myself. Pedro Arendo, the Uvalde school district police chief and the on-scene incident commander, has said he spent more than an hour in the hallway of the school. He told the Texas Tribune that he called for tactical gear, a sniper, and keys to get inside. He said he held officers back from the door to the classrooms for 40 minutes to avoid gunfire as the shooter was killing kids. Again, I added that myself. When a custodian brought a large key ring, Arredondo said he tried dozens of the keys, but none worked. Okay. But Arredondo was not trying those keys in the door to classrooms 111 and 112, where Ramos was holed up. According to the law enforcement source, rather, he was trying to locate a master key by using the various keys on doors to other classrooms, the source said, and the Texas Tribune article said. While Arredondo waited for a tactical team to arrive, children and teachers inside the classroom called 911 at least several times with desperate pleas for help. They should have just yelled out the door because they were out there. The police were out there. And again, I'm not making a joke of this. What I'm saying is this shows how cowardly those fucking police are. One of the 2 teachers who died, Eva Morales, called her husband by cell phone after she was wounded and laid dying. The massacre occurred 2 days before the start of summer break, on the same day as a just completed award ceremony for 3rd and 4th graders at Robb Elementary. Days after the massacre, Stephen McCraw, director of the Texas Department of Public Safety, said at a news conference that each door can lock from the inside, and that when the shooter went in, he locked the door. That information was preliminary, the source said, and further investigation by the Texas Rangers has yielded new revelations about the door. As the investigation has unfolded, law enforcement has changed the story of the massacre several times because cops are fucking lying bullshitters. Again, I added that myself, adding to public confusion over how police responded to the mass shooting. Days after the shooting, DPS said the exterior door that the shooter entered had been left propped open by a teacher. It wasn't. She had closed it. So that was when that guy, that was another famous video, a viral video. He was lying. That guy was lying about that. And the agency also corrected early misinformation. You mean early lies? That school police shot at the shooter before he entered the school. No police officers confronted him outside the school. DPS and Uvalde city officials have refused to provide further details, citing an ongoing criminal investigation into the massacre by Uvalde DA Christina Mitchell Busby. And that's another article I'm going to be covering, guys, as well with this. The Texas Rangers, with assistance from the FBI, are investigating the police response. Separately, the Justice Department is conducting a critical incident review of the police response. U.S. Representative Joaquin Castro of San Antonio said he was upset by the new details. As more of the story comes out, so that's what he had to say. State Representative Roland Gutierrez, also a Democrat of San Antonio, whose district encompasses Uvalde, said he was unaware of the revelations about the door. Oh, really? If the door was unlocked the entire time, or if police could have forced their way in regardless, then people likely died unnecessarily, he said. Of course. But your cops are pussies. If that's true, I added that myself too, by the way. I just want to let you guys know. If that's true, we probably could have saved 3 or 4 extra children, Gutierrez said. The teacher possibly could have been saved. We know 2 kids had gunshot wounds that they bled out from. We know that one teacher was alive when they pulled her out, and she died on the way to the hospital. Any law enforcement agency whose officers waited in the hallway for more than an hour committed negligence. Criminal at that, he said, if the door could have easily been breached the entire time. Gutierrez added that investigators should immediately clarify exactly how police responded or failed to respond to the massacre. What were failures? Gutierrez continued. Were they communication failures? Were they human error failures? Were they system failures? Or was it simply something as simple as not turning a doorknob? We need to know that. And the fact that they are hiding all of this information from the public and community in Uvalde is just a tragedy. Maybe, I don't know, a senator can do something, or a representative could do something about it. Maybe. Who knows? You're kind of like, they're hiding information from the public, which is the next article that we're going to be getting into right now. This is just fucking, like, the deeper you go into this story, the more crazy this story is. The fact that this was a lot, like, it's insanity. It's utter insanity. Continuing. Uvalde, and now this is the article from Vice. I'm usually not a big fan of Vice, but they did good work here. Uvalde hires a private law firm to argue it doesn't have to release school shooting public records. Some of the records relating to Robb Elementary School shooting could be highly embarrassing, involve emotional and mental distress, and are not of legitimate concern to the public, those lawyers argued. This is an article by Jason Keebler, maybe. The city of Uvalde and its police department are working with a private law firm to prevent the release of nearly any record related to the mass shooting at Robb Elementary School, in which 19 children and 2 teachers died. According to a letter obtained by Motherboard in response to a series of public information requests we made, the public records Uvalde is trying to suppress include body camera footage, photos, 911 calls, emails, text messages, criminal records, and more. So from what I heard originally was that the shooter didn't have a criminal record. So are they saying the criminal records of the police? And that's what I'm curious about. Because as we all know, cops are criminals. They're a gang, just like the Crips and the Bloods and M19 and all those guys. They're a blue gang. The city has not voluntarily released any information to a member of the public. The city's lawyer, Cynthia Trevino, who works for the private law firm Denton, Navarro, Roca, Bernal, and Zeck, wrote in a letter to Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. The city wrote the letter asking Paxton for a determination about what information it is required to release to the public, which is standard practice in Texas. Paxton's office will eventually rule which of the city's arguments have merit and will determine which, if any, public records it is required to release. Again, this is public records. The police are there to serve the public. This shows you that the police have too much fucking power that they don't want to release this information because it would cause embarrassment. Where's the calls about, censorship and fascism and things like that? Like, I'm with conservatives when they talking about when it comes to the vaccine and things like that. I'm usually with them, but they're always silent on issues like this when it comes to the police acting like authoritarian tyrants. They seem to just mysteriously just ignore those things, which is insane to me because this is crazy. The police are there to serve the public, and these are public records, and they're not trying to release them. This is insanity. Got to take a drink real quick, guys. Cheers. Woo! I need to take a shot of that beer. The letter makes clear, however, that the city and its police department want to be exempted from releasing a wide variety of records, in part because it is being sued, and in part because some of the records could include highly embarrassing information, in part because some of the information is not of legitimate concern to the public. How about you let the public determine that? In part because the information could reveal methods, techniques, and strategies for preventing and predicting crime. You guys clearly are not good at that. Clearly. In part because some of the information may cause or may regard emotional mental distress. What about the emotional and mental distress of those parents that lost their kids, and their kids could have been saved if you guys weren't pussies? What about that emotional and mental distress? Okay. And in part because its response to the shooting is being investigated by the Texas Rangers, the FBI, and the Uvalde County District Attorney. Let's see. The letter explains that Uvalde has at least one in-house attorney whose communications is trying to prevent from public release, and yet it is using outside private counsel to deal with a matter of extreme importance and public interest. Uvalde's government and its police department did not immediately respond to a request from Motherboard. So yeah, let's watch this TikTok video.
Uvalde police hired a private law firm to argue that it doesn't need to release body camera footage, emails, and other public records related to the deadly shooting that killed 19 students and 2 teachers last month. We know this because I have the letter. In the US, we have what are called freedom of information laws, which allow anyone to request public records, which means anything that the cops do. This means body camera footage that would show what the response is like in Uvalde. After the shooting, cops got 148 requests, and they have, quote, not voluntarily released any information to a member of the public. This is because the files might relate to, quote, emotional and mental distress, or contain highly embarrassing information, or are not of legitimate concern to the public. This is a case where the cops have been highly criticized, so of course the public wants to see it, and of course they're going to want to keep it private. You can read more about this letter at motherboard.vice.com.
Interesting. So continuing, the city says that it has received. Let's see. So yeah, you guys get the gist. This is a longer article. Let's go ahead and let's read this. Let's actually read the letter. Actually, for the sake of time, I'm gonna go ahead and move to the next tidbit because this basically, like, you guys. Wow. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't even realize it cut me out. Let me see where I check my. Let me check my joint and see where it left me off at. Oh my god. That's what I get annoyed by sometimes. I don't even know where I cut out at, guys. I mean, I got to check the stream myself and see.
And if anything, they were being more.
Hang on, I'll be right back, guys. All right, so I checked. The setup was still good, so I'm just going to go ahead and keep going with everything. So let me pull up the next tidbit. And hang on. Boom. So remember the mom, Angeli Rose Gomez, we showed at the beginning? Well, let's check this out. Uvalde police are still harassing Angeli Rose Gomez, the mom that ran into the school and saved her children. This is what happens to you in Uvalde when you go against their normal. You're harassed and threatened. So let's go ahead and read this letter. Oh, damn, that joint is tiny. I gotta zoom in. Damn, because I cannot see that joint, guys. Hold on. Let me see if I can back out so I can read it. Because that joint is tiny. I'm going to just read it like this. You about to see me look weird because I got to move in. I don't got my glasses. I'm old. Dear Chief Rodriguez, last evening on June 19th, 2022 at approximately 9:30 p.m., my client, Angeli Gomez, was walking with her grandmother, Leticia Gomez. A marked police vehicle was outside of her residence at 238 South Farrar Street, Uvalde, Texas, for approximately 45 minutes with the vehicle lights on and blinking. Ms. Gomez requests information regarding the police vehicle as she asserts that she has been the victim of harassment by law enforcement officials from May 24th, 2022, when she was falsely arrested and detained while attempting to aid her children and others at the Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. Through yesterday, June 19th, 2022, when a police vehicle was parked outside of her residence. Please state whether you dispute the facts that there was a marked police vehicle outside of her residence. Please state whether you dispute the facts that there was a marked police vehicle outside of her premises on June 19th, or the approximate amount of time the vehicle was outside of her premises. Also, please provide the name, address, and badge number of the officer, as well as the license plate number of the vehicle. I would also request the reason the vehicle was outside of her premises. The police harassment appears to be due to animosity that the unarmed Ms. Gomez, I'm going to say it one more time. Unarmed Ms. Gomez entered the Robb Elementary School while various law enforcement officers from various agencies cowered outside. That was my editing of the school, harassing and assaulting concerned parents and preventing them from saving their children on May 24th, 2022, while an armed gunman was shooting their children, other children, and teachers inside the school. Additional harassment includes that Ms. Gomez was indirectly threatened through communications to her family, apparently resulting from her action as a whistleblower by speaking honestly and in a straightforward manner to the media about the inaction of law enforcement while an armed gunman was shooting the children and teachers of Robb Elementary. I would request that you respond in writing, as I would prefer not to take the unusual measures of obtaining a restraining order or other appropriate legal actions against the Uvalde Police Department in order to safeguard Ms. Gomez and her family. Lastly, I am requesting that any and all harassment of Angeli Rose Gomez stop, including communicating with her family members that she not discuss the matter with the media and the presence of marked and unmarked police vehicles outside of her residence. That's crazy. So now the police are intimidating this woman for telling the truth that they're fucking pussies, literally. And here's her explaining it. Let me pull the video up for you guys. The mother who rescued her two boys from, this is from Philip Lewis on Twitter. The mother who rescued her two boys from the Uvalde gunman says she's being harassed by cops at her own home. Angeli Rose Gomez said she had to separate from her boys just so my sons don't feel like they have to watch cops passing by and stopping.
Claims she's been faced with scrutiny from law enforcement at her own home.
The other night we were exercising and we had a cop parked at the corner flickering us with his headlights.
Due to incidents like this, Gomez said she is separated from her boys.
Just so my sons don't feel like they have to watch cops passing by, stopping, parking.
She has been protesting along with other community members in Uvalde Town Square, asking for UCISD Police Chief Pete Arredondo to be fired. Her goal now is to file a lawsuit.
The fact that he wasn't fired immediately based upon whatever it is, hours of video from testimony such as from Angeli, is an indication that there is some sort of a, corrupt.
24th, Gomez claims she's been faced with scrutiny from law enforcement at her own home.
The other night we were exercising and we had a cop parked at the corner flickering us with his headlights.
Due to incidents like this, Gomez said she is separated from her boys.
Just so my sons don't feel like they have to watch cops passing by.
Okay, my bad, guys. It's replaying. So yeah, so out of all the things I just showed you, the other failure, and not just failure, but the cowardice of the Uvalde police and them failing to stop a gunman from killing kids. And it took a mother to go save her kids in the school. And now knowing that there were cops inside in the hallway outside the door cowering. And now they're trying to basically strong arm a mother for telling the truth about their fuckery. Again, cops are cowards and we need to call it out. This is insanity. The fact that they're like going after this mom, like doing like that, that's intimidation tactics. This is being done in Russia. They would be asking for Putin's head right now. Oh, where's Joe Biden talking about this? I haven't heard Joe Biden or anybody in his administration talking about this. I haven't heard anybody talk about this except indie media people and other people on Twitter. Insanity, utter insanity. So going to go ahead and leave the story there, guys. Conclude it and wrap it up there. And I think I'm going to wrap the stream up tonight. I'm going to cover that Ukraine CIA story Friday. I'm going to cover it tomorrow because I'm getting tired. I got to let the dog out. So everybody that tuned in, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Always love talking with you guys. Love doing the news with you guys. Like, subscribe, and share as always. Comment definitely, afterwards. I'm probably going to chop this up into clips later, so it'll still be up for you guys to watch, but probably going to chop it up into clips for people, that like shorter videos and everything. Chop it up into multiple clips. So look out for those. Drop it on the channel. Did I say like, subscribe, and share? Yes, I did, but I will say it again. Like, subscribe, and share. Also go check out the Patreon. There's other videos there to go check out. There's nothing behind the paywall there, but it would be greatly appreciated, if you could leave, a contribution to help keep the show afloat if you can. But there's nothing behind the paywall, so if you don't want to, it's cool as well. We also take contributions through CashApp. All that's down in the description below. So definitely, if you can, show love. Like I said, I'm gonna be back tomorrow. I'm gonna cover that CIA story tomorrow with the CIA and Ukraine. I feel like that's an interesting story to be talking about. I went a bit long on the first story, but I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in. Peace. Easy.